Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure I am up. I'm seeing myself moving and shaking, so I am going to take it that I am live. Let me check my sound, because sometimes my sound drops on me between shows. This, and this. Yes, good. Perfect. So first, I want to thank all my patrons. I want to thank all the people who view and subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much. You guys are immensely appreciated. I want to thank the people who give super cash. So essentially, if you watch and view in any way, if you share in any particular way, if you like, if you dislike, if you've engaged in any way, thank you very much. I appreciate your help in making this channel work. Tomorrow, Elizabeth Voss is coming on from Disobedient Media. I've used several of her articles as a backdrop of my stories. She's done exceptional work. So I asked her would she come on, so she's coming on tomorrow at 5 p.m. In the future, Steve Bassett, UFO lobbyist, he's a fucking awesome guy. I saw several of his lectures. He's really good. He's a serious, credible guy. And another gentleman, Joseph Burks. Joseph Burks is, this is a slight aside, he's a UFO researcher also. Had 20-30 years of experience. The guy was a medical doctor, and his lectures are fucking amazing. Like I was drawn to him just based on his lectures, and I found him on Facebook. This was like 2 or 3, maybe 2 years ago, and him and I had these long conversations because both of us were long-winded, and he remained my Facebook friend. And so I asked him yesterday. He said he's willing to come on to the show. I think it was yesterday. It was a few days ago. But he's willing to come on to the show and talk about his prior experience and what's taking place now with the Tom DeLonge issue. So, interesting shows coming up. I'm still continuously asking people to come on because I'm trying to keep a steady stream of new blood of interviews and that type of stuff because I enjoy the interviews. So, now that we got that part out the way, I guess, getting out of the, really, all right, here's the list, here's the work. I have a few shows I want to do tonight. But the very first show, the thing that stuck out in my mind as I was doing a rundown on what I wanted to do and what I wanted to talk about, Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn. Now, in the United States, right now, at this very moment, I always think of United States politics and British politics as like a hair away from one another. Like societies are close enough to where whatever's happening there, for the most part, there are elements that are happening here and vice versa. You can't necessarily say one is the be all. Ultimately, they're relative to one another, but they're in a relationship. The relationship tends to be British is less worse off. Now, I'm meaning the capitalist system is more rapacious here in the United States than it is in Britain. Even from the degree of politics, even in politics. So here in the United States, they're having a Russia scare. They're having a Red scare. McCarthy 2.0. They've gone to calling everybody on the left Russian agents. I shit you not. Because Hillary Clinton's billion-dollar campaign, where she had the entire media apparatus backing her. She had Bernie Sanders himself backing her. He had one newspaper after the next backing her. She had trolls on Twitter that she was paying, mind you, saying bad things about Bernie Sanders, bad things about Donald Trump. Had them guys backing her. She had all of this backing her. But she was toppled by Russian trolls on social media. That's the shit that's going on here in the United States. They're literally making this argument that these trolls who are on social media, who had no effect in the election itself, meaning objective data, when you're looking at the studies, I've given multiples. Little to no impact on it. And despite having little to no impact, despite this literally being social media trolls that they're talking about, they've still used this as an argument that Russia somehow attacked us, and it's like Pearl Harbor event, and there needs to be quote-unquote severe consequences by one of the people who were supposedly agents, Bernie Sanders. They alluded to this thing of Bernie Sanders and talking about Russian agents writing Facebook ads, I guess endorsing Sanders. threatened by this, comes out and shames himself, relentlessly shames himself, explaining how, oh, these fucking Russians, they're going to be severe consequences. And they interrogated my, they got into my campaign, and they got into Black Lives Matter, and they got into Muslims, and I mean, they were all over the place, these Russians. Shamed himself. Fucking embarrassing. Him on Meet the Press and Mr. Oblivious Chuck Todd. And at no point in that conversation did Bernie Sanders explain during the conversation that, look, the United States doesn't really have standing to bitch about this. Meaning, A, it had no impact in our election. B, even if you want to say you're bothered by this particular thing, we do the same thing around the globe and worse. We killed 1 million people in Iraq. We destroyed Libya. We are in, literally, Syria right now in a recent air thing where we murdered a bunch of Syrians. We're in that country illegally. We destroyed Iraq. We destroyed Libya. Like, I'm trying to get across this thing of standing. I've showed the thing where the CIA guy essentially said, yes, we do this in other countries around the world, and giggles. It's hilarious, though. Yes, we do it. We do it for good reasons, though. I'm trying to get across this thing of the ridiculousness of what's taking place here in America, this farce. You have the media who's screaming about this as if it's this major life-changing event. As if the United States doesn't do this. As if we don't topple democracies. As if we don't do any of these bad things around the world. We're dandelions. And something else brushed against us and we're upset and in bad position about it. This is fucking insanity. Like, it's ridiculousness on top of ridiculousness. And even the person who is charging the Russian trolls, the social media trolls, has said that there was no relationship between this and the election outcome. Hillary Clinton lost, not because of Russia trolls. Hillary Clinton lost because of Hillary Clinton. But this is what they've whipped this up to be, McCarthy 2.0. And they've tarred Bernie Sanders with this. They're trying to hit Jill Stein. Jill Stein fortunately held her shape. But they're trying to say that the leftist movements, meaning Black Lives Matter, Muslims, they're trying to say that these items on the left, the fact that Bernie Sanders supporters were cheated, these things were instigated by Russia. It wasn't getting shot in the face that instigated the Black Lives Matter movement. It wasn't being cheated by the Democratic establishment. And then you have the double indignity of the person who was cheated, who was supposed to represent us, out there shilling for the people who cheated, screaming that somebody else cheated him. He was the person that was cheated. This is what's taking place in America. It is embarrassing. It is utterly embarrassing. Jumping across the pond for the moment, though. Again, if my logic holds true, something similar, some similar ridiculousness is going to be taking place in the UK. And it is. It is. I saw this on Twitter today. Because, you know, I'm a Twitter guy. Where is it? Right here. Jeremy Corbyn wrote to B. Bradley, warning him to delete his libelous tweet or face legal action. What? What is a libelous tweet? What's the libelous tweet? Right here. Ben Bradley, MP, Tory MP, Cantankerous Troglodyte, Ben Bradley. Corbyn sold British secrets to communist spies. Get some perspective, mate. Your priorities are a bit awry. So, in the United States, they're saying that all of these people are Russian agents, that all of the people who are pissed off at the way society has arranged itself. Those people aren't pissed off because of the way things are. Those people aren't pissed off because of the historical context of the battles that they themselves are fighting. No. It's Vladimir fucking Putin. It's Vladimir Putin. That's what's happening in the States. Vladimir Putin and his trolls on social media. Facebook ads and Twitter ads. Toppling democracy. They're fucking ridiculous on all fronts. But in the UK, they jumped the shark from Vladimir Putin and went all the way to communists. He's an informant to communists. That's a fucking amazing. Corbyn sold British secret to communist spies. That's an amazing fucking thing. So what do you have to back that up? So now I'm stuck in this like, okay, A, Ben Bradley is a fucking idiot. He's mentally unstable. And B, who is Ben Bradley? That's the second question. And C, what are they talking about? Communist spies. Because usually when they make shit up like this, there's like a kernel of something that they're peeling out of proportion in order to come up with this ridiculous perspective. Let's take a look at it. So, to give you some perspective on who Ben Bradley is, Ben Bradley apparently was, yeah, right here. Ben Bradley deletes tweet saying Jeremy Corbyn leaked secrets to communist spies. So if you leak tweet, it means he's full of shit, right? Like, if you do a tweet and somebody says, look, I'm going to sue you if you keep that up. If you had the goods, you would imagine you would just say, well, fuck off. This tweet is true. I can back this up. If you can't back that up and you take that tweet down, does that mean that you were full of shit in the first place? I think it means you were full of shit in the first place. Yes. But let's read through the article. Let's see what they're talking about. Let's get some context. Jeremy Corbyn has threatened legal action against a Conservative MP over an online claim that he sold British secrets to communist spies, quote unquote. A spokesman for Labour leader said he had instructed solicitors to tell Mansfield MP Ben Bradley to take down the libelous tweet or face legal action. The warning follows an exchange on Twitter between Mr. Bradley and Far Right Watch website. A poster from Mr. Bradley's account claimed that Mr. Corbyn sold British secrets to communist spies. A spokesman for Corbyn said Jeremy has instructed solicitors to contact Mr. Bradley and delete this libelous tweet or face legal action. There was no immediate response from Mr. Bradley's office. However, he has since deleted the tweet. They should add in, when they delete the tweet, they're usually full of shit. The row comes after Sun last week published details of the documents from archives from the Czech intelligence, which, it said, showed Mr. Corbyn had met a Czech intelligence officer on 3 occasions in the 1980s during the Cold War. The Labour leader's office acknowledged that he had met the Czech diplomat for tea in the House of Commons, but said any claims he was an agent, asset, or informer for intelligence agencies is entirely false and ridiculous smear. So Jeremy Corbyn is a communist informer. Bernie Sanders and his supporters are just fucking mindless idiots. But Jeremy Corbyn in this case is a communist informer. Are you fucking kidding me? The guy calls himself a socialist. So you guys are saying, hey, socialist, communist, let's bring this shit back into existence. Communist. He's communist. He's communist. At some point, that communist informer is going to jump the shark too. He's a communist. Now, to give a little context on who Bradley is, Ben Bradley, and Jeremy Corbyn responded to this, by the way. So I'm going to show his response. I looked up Ben Bradley. This is Ben Bradley. Tory MP Ben Bradley apologizes for suggesting unemployed should get vasectomies. Unemployed should get vasectomies. Now, here's the thing. Brits, you're least worse. You're a little bit less worse than us. So I'm going to give you some advice. I've given you advice before. This isn't me mansplaining. At least I don't think it is. It might be a little bit. A little bit mansplaining. Because we are least worse, we can look at us as your darker brother. And yes, that's a pun, but also it's pretty accurate. We're further to the right than you. This guy who's apologizing, I can almost guarantee you that this guy full well believes this. He's telling you what he believes. He's telling you what's inside of him. And if you slide a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, the stuff that this guy's saying will be policy in your country. It doesn't matter that he apologizes. This is what's in him. This is what he actually believes. The apology doesn't really matter. What does it matter that there's an apology if this is what he actually believes? Now, Theresa May has given this guy, put him in a higher position. There's a ceremony trying to unseat him, and I'm going to leave that also into the thing. But let's look at what he was saying. The reason why I kind of make this point that we're worse than you guys are, like, our social fabric is porous. I mean, it's extraordinarily thin. Like, in this country, you would have a hard time getting 60% of the people in this country, if they got a bill for like $500, they wouldn't be able to pay it. If there was some kind of family emergency, they would just be ass out. You guys at least have a social safety net. It may be porous, it may not be as thick as you want it, but at least you have one. Guys like this will take that from you. They will take that from you. I know, I don't care what Tories say out their mouth, I care what they do. And the evolved Tory, in this case, the Republican, meaning in the United States. These guys are hideous. These guys are hideous. At best, this guy is a Democrat. At the very least, what he's trying to espouse is to sound like a Democrat. A conservative MP promoted in Theresa May's reshuffle has apologized over a blog post suggesting benefit claimants should have vasectomies. Ain't that nice? Ben Bradley, who was named as the conservative vice chairman for youth, said people on welfare should stop having children if they cannot afford those children, before suggesting sterilization. The Mansfield MP, 29, was writing in support of the benefits cap and suggested it would not be long before we are drowning in a vast sea of unemployed wasters. Your fellow Brits. After the post on personal blog, Cons Bradder 32 was highlighted by BuzzFeed's news, it was deleted. Why delete it? Come on, bloke. Why delete it? Be a man about it. If that's what you feel, say it. Let your conservative heart run free. Sorry, but how many children you have is a choice. If you can't afford them, stop having them. Vasectomies are free, it read. Families who have never worked a day in their lives, having 4 or 5 kids, and the rest of us having 1 or 2, means it's not long before we're drowning in a vast sea of unemployed wasters that we pay to keep. Mr. Bradley said that he had matured since posting the blog post in 2012 and was sorry for the comments. You're sorry for the comments. Do you honestly believe that this man matured, whatever that means? And do you honestly believe he's sorry for the comments? Now, I believe he's sorry for the comments, meaning that people saw those comments. But come on, he's conservative. The man has matured. The man is who he is. This is what this party believes. I would say this party probably believes worse. And if you were in the United States, I guarantee you they would be saying worse. It's just a warning. It's just a warning from your darker brother, man. That's all I'm saying. So, Jeremy Corbyn responds to this. Because it's hard to get across the ridiculousness of this. And they're attacking him in the same way. Someone else said, dude, they're doing the same thing to Jeremy Corbyn. And then I see this from Momentum talking about this part. This is amazing. So let's hear Jeremy Corbyn's response to this. Jeremy Corbyn is going to have a conversation with the audience, essentially saying that these guys have jumped the fucking shark. And the stuff they're accusing me of is fucking mental. This is Jeremy Corbyn explaining that these attacks and these smears from all of these sources are somewhat coordinated, and that these guys are just terrified that this guy is going to be the next prime minister of Britain, because he's going to be the next prime minister of Britain.
And we don't want to close it down. We want to open it up. At the moment, much of our press isn't very free at all. In the last few days, the Sun, the Mail, the Telegraph, the Express have all gone a little bit James Bond. They found a former Czechoslovakian spy whose claims are increasingly wild and entirely false. He seems to believe I kept him informed about what Margaret Thatcher had for breakfast, and says he was responsible for either Live Aid or the Mandela concert, or maybe both. It's easy to laugh, but something more serious is happening. Publishing these ridiculous smears that have been refuted by Czech officials shows just how worried the media bosses are by the prospect of a Labour government. They're right to be. Labour will stand up to the powerful and corrupt and take the side of the many, not the few.
I'm going to let him finish. And yes, I'm a Jeremy Corbyn fanboy. I love that. It is a euphoric experience hearing that. And I know that sounds strange, but it is. He said, it's funny, I think I have this odd fetish for this thing of justice, whatever that means. It's just very strange. It's like, oh yes, I like that. I like that. I want more of that. He's saying these guys are coming after me. He says, and these guys are worried that Labour is going to stand up to the media bosses. Right off the bat, I like the language that he's using, bosses. I like the way he's saying it. He's creating a distinction between us and them in these terms of class. Love it. Right off the bat. But then said these guys are concerned that Labour is going to stand up to these guys. And they're right to be concerned. I love that. I love that. That is music to my ears. Let him finish.
Press is essential for democracy. And we don't want to close it down. We want to open it up. At the moment, Much of our press isn't very free at all. In fact, it's controlled by billionaire tax exiles who are determined to dodge paying their fair share for our vital public services. The general election showed the media barons are losing their influence, and social media means their bad old habits are becoming less and less relevant. But instead of learning these lessons, they're continuing to resort to lies and smears. Their readers, you, all of us, deserve so much better. Well, we've got news for them. Change is coming.
I love that man. I love that man. This is one of those. I guess my feeling was, you're not coming after us. We're coming after you. That's, for all intents and purposes, what that was. These guys are resorting to smears and slander and coming after me. I'm going to be the Prime Minister of Britain. And when I'm Prime Minister of Britain, we're going to open the media companies up, meaning you're not going to be able to control media in the way that you do. I love that. I fucking love that. Because that's not cowering in this sense. That's not him being a coward. That's not him backing away on this. That's him literally saying, I am going to be Prime Minister of Britain. And Labour. And I even love that, the terms in this case. Bosses, Labour. I love the way this cuts out, man. People, if you're not from the States, let's say you're from Britain or somewhere else, you don't quite understand how different this is. That is badass. That's mentally badass. I love that. I love that. I fucking love that. So that's what's going on in Britain. In the United States, everybody's a Russian agent. Everybody's a Russian bot. If you're on the left, Vladimir Putin, you had no two brain cells rubbed together. Vladimir Putin is doing it all for you. And they even got guys like Bernie Sanders hitting his own supporters and hitting himself in the knees. In Britain, they're trying to say the guy was a communist informant. And in a show of bravery, however, as opposed to in the States, Corbyn has taken the position that you're not coming after us, we're coming after you. And we're going to break you up. Meaning there are going to be more media companies when we get in office. Labor is going to stand for the people. You can't have a free society if your labor is constrained by a bunch of billionaires. And of course he's right. He's right. I fucking love it. Fucking love it. All right. Oh, yeah. You guys can call in if... Let me explain the calling policy. So, if so I've given call-ins as a privilege to my patrons because I appreciate them for what they do. I mean, in many ways, they support the show for everyone else. So, I have no idea what I can give them outside of the videos and everything else. But my thought was, call-ins. Call-ins. Patrons can call in. I still take the commentary from the screen, but I do call-ins. So if you're a patron and you have the capacity or you want to call in, feel free to call in. I know this is somewhat of an odd topic to have a call in. I am going to have another show after this one. The one we'll get back into US politics. I like British politics. Love British Parliament. And so I love talking about it. They have an interesting way of going about their affairs. It's a peculiar way of doing their politics. Now, mind you, this stuff is cultural, just like that stuff is cultural here. But we were originally a British colony. So it's always interesting to look across the pond. Here we are. Somebody says, Gordon DeMac. Oh, we do, Jamal. We know exactly how badass that is. Don't underestimate that. Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, do you remember when Bernie Sanders was on that debate stage? Man. Fuck, man. I remember. Back during the primaries. It was the primaries. Bernie Sanders was on the debate stage. I think they were in New York. I think it was Hillary Clinton and Sanders. And they looked like they were going to come to blows at that debate. Like, it was an intense debate. And I'll never forget it. There's this very specific line where Bernie Sanders says something like Jeremy Diamond says I'm a dangerous man or something like that, and I say, he's right, I am dangerous. And you're like, oh my God. Yes. Yes, that's what the public wants. Like this red meat, but this red meat in a way with this populist, class-based language of this very clear description of events. Not, you know, skating around the conversation. No, no. Let's talk about the economic system and the way that the class has been broken up and divided in this way, and the way resources have been distributed. Let's have that conversation. Oh, I love that. I love that. And the fact is, Jeremy Corbyn doesn't seem to cow from that conversation. And even in situations like this, where he's like, these guys are smearing me. They're calling me a fucking communist informant. Media needs to be broken up. And to put those two things together, that is an amazing threat. I love that. I love that. You're not coming after us, we're coming after you. Jeremy Corbyn is going to be Prime Minister of Britain. Get over it. Get over it. And yes, I know I don't live in Britain, and I know some people may tell me, go fuck myself. Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't have the capacity to do that. Even in my younger days, I didn't have capacity to do that, but fair enough. Doesn't change the events that Jeremy Corbyn is going to be Prime Minister of Britain. I'll write that shit down. No, this is not written in stone, but this will be here forever. It won't be here forever. In fact, it won't be here beyond this video. But I'm just making the point that the man is going to be Prime Minister of Britain. If that election was held today, Theresa May would get trounced. Theresa May would get trounced. So, yeah, he's a lot more ballsy than Sanders. Yeah, Galloway is a badass too. Pete D. Yeah, agreed. Pete D. Yeah. Captain Oblivious. Captain Obvious. Jamal is a chess master. I am not a chess master, not anymore. I got my ass handed to me in the last tournament I was in. Hadn't played. Like, chess is one of those things where when you stop playing, man, you lose it. It drains out of you. Your rating just plummets. I used to, when I was younger, I would see those guys who used to have this like really high rating, and they're like 200 points less, 200 points to your floor, and getting trounced. And I was like, what the fuck happened? He was like, I stopped playing. And then I stopped playing. I go to a tournament. My first game goes well. My second game, I start getting a little fatigued. But, you know, I lose, but it's not too big of a deal. The third game, lose. And he's like, okay. I probably shouldn't go to tournaments and just assume that my powers will be intact. So, yeah. Bart Chaibalski. George Galloway is a badass. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Liquid Zero. Gorgeous George used to sit next to Jeremy Corbyn since the early days of Parliament. I remember those old videos, man. Some of the old videos in Parliament I used to watch, like the Tony Blairs, the Thatchers. I used to enjoy those on YouTube. Not complaining, but no one here compares to Corbyn in policy and momentum. Frosted ambassador. Yeah, man, I agree. Kevin, you know what I would like to see on this debate conversation between Jamal and Sargon or Sticks? I think that could be a good discussion. Kevin, I know of those guys, but I don't think I've ever watched anything that either have done. But I know of them. So I can take you now, Jamal Kamnav. You might be able to, but I don't know what you can put out. I don't know how much skill you got backing you up on this. Bob Romero must have forgotten to wear his lucky Jill Stein underoos. Bad move, JT. Have to keep your game face on. Jill Stein underoos. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Joseph Fletcher. They're Labour voters who cannot bring themselves to vote for Jeremy Corbyn because of his links with memberships to the Irish terrorist organization, the IRA. Are you shitting me? That's amazing. Good job, Jill and Jeremy. Too bad Bernie is supporting this Russia smear. Yeah, agreed. Debbie was just showing Jamal's Bernie balls. What? Hey, you high. I don't know what that means. Corbyn got more balls than Bernie. Yes. Yeah. I showed you where Sanders' balls were. Let's see if I can find that clip. I can't find it. It'll fuck up the video. But yeah. Alright, so I have another one after this. I'm not going to keep this one too long. It doesn't seem like too many people are involved. Debbie was just live and probably is now. Oh, you were being literal. You're showing that video. I had a video of Sanders. It was balls in a jar. It was like a Bernie Sanders name beside it. Thanks for all your sincere and honest work. Great to have you here on the planet at this time with us, Pete D. Thanks, Pete D. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, Pete. Thanks a lot. Yeah, man, I appreciate the super cash. I try not to say it too often, but I do. I do appreciate it. It always feels weird to me because it's like, yes, it takes up a lot of time. Yes, I enjoy doing videos despite it taking up a lot of time. And I suspect it's one of those things that because you enjoy it, it takes up right much time. Like the research and everything else that you put into it kind of just goes along with the territory. But it still is weird to me. It still feels weird to me. It's like busking. I don't know if you know what that is. Where the guy's on the street, he's like playing a guitar or something like that, and people throw quarters. Bob Ramirez said, you need a Bernie on a stick so you can try it out on camera and speak behind your best Hillary voice. Oh, that's wrong. That's wrong, Bob. That's so wrong. That's so wrong. That's so wrong. I don't think Sanders was... Look, I think when he started in that contest, he started under the provision that I'm not going to do anything to hurt Hillary Clinton's chances of winning the general. I think that's the provision. I think that's what he was running under. I think he thought he bought the propaganda. There's no chance that this audience will pay attention to me. There's no chance this audience will like what I'm selling, etc., etc. And when those people were like, who's that guy? I like that guy. And it's like, you know, they call that guy a socialist. I don't give a shit what they call that guy. I like that guy. In which case, then it became feel the burn. He's on fire. But now you understand that this is a major change in the dynamics of where things were going. You had this situation where he had no chance. They didn't believe Bernie Sanders was going to win any states. Well, that's not true anymore. At this point, he's winning state after state after state. And they continuously keep saying this guy has no chance. And yet he wins state after state after state. You can understand, like, you started the campaign off thinking I have no chance. And then somewhere along the way, it didn't become no chance. It's, I have a slim chance, but fuck it, I have a chance. And I'm going to go for it. By the same token, he's still stuck in this paradigm of, I don't want to do anything to damage Hillary Clinton. And if I lose, I've already said I'm going to support Hillary Clinton. And that's what he did. That's what he did. He shamed himself, yes. It was not pleasant to watch, no. Part of me wept inside, yes. But it's what it is. Troglodytes are people too, that's racist. The revanches. I think Bernie never planned to win. It seemed to me that at first he was just trying to get his ideas out. Yeah, that's what that's my point. It's, look, what perspective? You know, perspective matters. People don't function in avoiding like, they don't act, just act. If that makes sense. I know that sounds weird. But they don't, you always have a filter. There's no way to get away from your filter. Just as a human being, the way you understand the world, your paradigm, it controls, it influences how you yourself behave in that world. There's no situation where you're functioning as if you don't have a filter on the world. Meaning you always have a perspective of the world. There's no way for you to act in the world if you don't have this idea of what the world actually is. My point in this is, Sanders running in this race from the standpoint of I have no chance is different than Sanders running in a race of I am going to win this shit. I am king shit in this place and I'm going to win it. Those are two vastly different perspectives. Your behavior is going to be vastly different in both of those situations. In one case, I'm going to run just enough to get my ideas out. I'm not going to necessarily hit anybody all that hard. I'm going to run in a particular way. I'm not trying to win. I'm just trying to draw. In the other case, I am going to hit that person as hard as I can hit that person to get that person out this race. Those are two fundamentally different ways of acting, of functioning. I don't think anybody can look at the race and think Sanders was a former. He wasn't running as if he was king shit. He was running as if I don't want to damage Hillary Clinton. It was only later when he got to the point where he was like, I think I have a chance. I think I have a chance. But he's still stuck in this situation of, Yeah, but that chance is still couched in this thing of not necessarily want to damage Hillary Clinton. It's a weird, you know, it's not the easiest position to be in. It's somewhat of a quagmire. Somewhat of a quagmire. Seems Hillary was the only one who planned to win. Liquid Zero. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-oh. J. Scott, Debbie is shitting on you. Oh. Debbie was ragging on me. That's fine. That's fine. Will Bernie be more aggressive than in 2020 against the other Democratic candidates? I have no idea. Like, I would say this, he's starting off from the premise of, I'm the most popular candidate in this country. He's starting from that premise, so maybe. Maybe. But it is going to be slightly different. Oh, God. Debbie is going to regret playing Jamal's clip now that he's apologizing for Old Yeller. I'm not apologizing for anybody. I'm not apologizing for anybody. I'm not apologizing for anybody. Uh-oh, Debbie's playing my clip. I don't know the context that this clip is in. This is awesome. This is awesome. Yeah, man, I don't know what's going to take place in this primary. Like, lefties are assuming that Bernie Sanders is going to clean up in the primary. Yes, he's the most popular senator. That's true. How does that look when you have like 5 or 6 people in a race as opposed to Hillary Clinton and you have one person as being the opposing candidate? Like, I don't know I can't say it. I don't know the dynamics of that particular race. It's hard to know. I would hope that it just goes the way lefties think, where Sanders just racks up. He just cleans up. But I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know where the superdelegates go. I don't know if there's a unity commission. I don't know anything of what's going to take place in that process. What I do know is if Democrats win the House and the Senate, if they win it back, I am highly doubtful that the Unity Commission is going to bear fruit that they think it's going to bear. And they would have won by not changing anything. Like, understand what I mean. When Sanders is out here shilling for Democrats, meaning when he's out here gutting his own people at the knees, part of the argument that he's bolstering is status quo is perfectly okay. Status quo still works. It was the Russians. Fucking Russians. Status quo would have been perfectly okay. Russians were just kicking up dust. Sanders supporters, Black Lives Matter, all these people who were on the left. Nope. It was fucking crafty Russians. And your Facebook and Twitter ads. He undermines himself. Like, he undermines himself, whether he realizes it or not. So, I don't know what this election season is going to look like. It's going to be magnificently interesting. There is a path for the left. I mean, for the candidate that the left wants, there's a path. It's narrow. Valleys and rivers, but it is a path. Look up Xenoview letter. All right, let's look that up. Debbie is going to regret playing Jamal's clip now that he's apologizing for Old Yeller. Yeah, I'm not apologizing. Join me, Jamal's dainty walker, and we will defeat the darkness of the empire by joining with the Siths. Darth Bob Ramirez. It's a big mystery as to which corporate warmonger Bernie would end. Oh, don't say that. The suspense is palatable. Oh, you guys are horrible people, man. You guys are horrible people. I'll read it. It's a big mystery as to which corporate warmonger Bernie will endorse in 2020. The suspense is palatable. Yeah, man, that's wrong. You guys are horrible people. You guys are awful, horrible people. That would break me, man. That would break me. If Sanders loses again, he goes out and says, I'm giving my support to Cory Booker. Oh, man. Yeah, that would break me. I would be that woman weeping on camera. I don't know if you remember, it was an Asian woman who was weeping at the DNC convention when they were talking about Sanders. That would be me just openly on the video, just unabashed, crying on screen. You bastard. You bastard. Yeah. Yeah. Is Bernie supporting the Russia stuff so the DNC would be more likely to support him? Yes, that's what I think. Or do you think no? I think no. Here's the thing. Sanders is not stupid. He's not a fucking idiot. He understands historical context. He full well understands what McCarthyism is. He understands all this stuff, which makes it that much worse. I don't think he's even if he believed it, say for the moment, Yet Sanders full well believed it, saying Russia interacted with our elections. What Sanders will say is, then we need to fix our elections from that standpoint. But ultimately, the United States does the same thing. He would understand context. That's my issue here. Like he would grasp context. He would grasp this perception of, well, I mean, shit, man, we've fucking destroyed countries. Did you see what happened to Libya? I mean, he would understand context. He would understand that the hysteria that these guys are using is insane. Like, these are not rational human beings. These are political actors who are trying to stir up a hysteria and a controversy in order to attack Donald Trump with. These are not rational human beings. They're talking about Twitter ads and Facebook ads. They're talking about social media accounts. And they're using the term attack democracy. We've literally destroyed countries. We've literally destroyed countries. And they're talking about fucking attacking democracy. I mean, no, I don't think he believes it. Even if he did believe it, he would understand that this is insanity. The way their behavior is massively over the top. You had people talking about Pearl Harbor. You had some other idiots talking about 9/11. These are fucking idiots. These are idiots. But this is what on mainstream news. This is what they're screaming about. Chuck Oblivious Todd. This is the shit that he's screaming about. Yeah, he's punching himself in the face. He's punching himself in the face. So, no, I don't think he believes it. And even if he did believe it, he wouldn't necessarily. If it was a head in a box, if you took Bernie Sanders' head and you put it in a box and you asked the questions, meaning there were no political forces that was acting on it, he may tell you, this is ridiculous. They're talking about social media accounts. The United States has invaded and destroyed countries, literally outright destroyed countries, in addition to intervening or mingling in their electoral process. We've put in brutal strongmen into countries. I mean, let's put this shit in context. We're in an illegal country. I mean, in a country right now, illegally, attacking their members of their society. All of this hoopla, all of it, is about social media accounts. Like, that blows me away. And the pretext of this, all of this started because they used a FISA warrant to spy on Donald Trump's campaign. And I'm not even going to go into the shenanigans with that one. But we've strayed so far away from Donald Trump colluded with Russia in order to get information from the DNC to attack Hillary Clinton with factually true information showing that Hillary Clinton cheated Bernie Sanders. How far have we strayed away from that? And now the report itself says, yeah, Trump didn't have anything to do with it. So take that off the bat. And now it's just Russians. It's fucking Russians. These crafty Russians. These crafty Russians. These magnificent Russians and their fucking keyboards crafting these things that are undermining American democracy. Do you know how brittle and fragile your democracy is if a bunch of people in social media has capacity to whatever bring it down means? It's fucking amazing, man. It's fucking amazing. Does Sanders realize he can't close the doors he's already opened in our minds? Tim Floberg. I guess that's not a question for Sanders. I guess that's more of a question for us. It's more of a question for us. I hope you have good spam filters. Bob Ramirez. Less than a dozen Russians. Chuck Oblivious. No, Mr. Oblivious Todd. And Wolf Robot Boy Blitzer. Adore Pariah. JT, just a note on unionizing YouTubers. I don't think it will work like that, as you are technologically self-employed as a YouTuber. They just host you guys, but creating groups is powerful. So it doesn't have to be called a union. I don't care what they call it. Call it a ham sandwich. I just mean YouTubers working in coordination with one another in the standpoint of making decisions on and addressing the company. Now, the company doesn't necessarily have to acknowledge us, but at the same token, the YouTubers are the ones who make the content. If those YouTubers make the decision to walk somewhere else just because Facebook or YouTube itself is not acknowledging it. I mean, that's my point is, you're stronger in unison than you are as individuals. I mean, imagine the ridiculousness of you having a show and you having multiple people that depend on you for a paycheck on that show. And YouTube goes in overnight and demonetizes 90% of your videos. What the fuck? How can you have a work environment where you have no control over the job space at all? Less control over the job space than if you actually were in a company. Like, it's amazing. They can literally undermine your well-being, undermine your living, undermine it on a whim. You have no say-so in this process. If you bitch and moan, you will get a letter. And that's the extent of your interaction with the company itself. I'm saying that's insane. That's fucking insane. The YouTubers should work in coordination with one another. I just think so. I mean, the rules and everything else, the shadow banning stuff, all that stuff needs to be up for debate. It is a private company, yes, but that private company purely depends on you. It depends on your labor. It depends on your views and everything else. Imagine the situation where they go through, demonetize a bunch of videos, but they're still using the content. Hey, thanks for the free content. We appreciate it. I'm just saying. It feels like I made the analogy that going to patrons is almost like working at Walmart and getting government assistance. Whereas if Walmart just paid you a decent wage, you wouldn't necessarily need government assistance. In this case, the government assistants are the patrons, where you have all these YouTubers begging for patrons, because ultimately they're not getting what they should get in the company that they're working at. I remember watching Cal's video after they went through and demonetized his videos, and Cal looked like he was gonna cry. He looked like he was gonna cry, and it's this thing of all of these guys thought for whatever reason that they didn't have a yoke on him, that they didn't have hooks into him, and they had this rude awakening of, yes, we do have hooks in you. I mean, ultimately you have your monetization, but if we take that off, you're done. And not just that, we can change the rules on a whim. We can do this on a whim. We can do that on a whim. You have no control over the space to which you work. You have no control. I'm saying it shouldn't be that way. And I'm saying working in tandem, you get a better chance of getting anything changed on that front, as opposed to just interacting with the company as an individual. So. Captain Obvious, fuck me. I troll like a motherfucker and only get less than a penny. Yeah, man, you're not getting enough of your trolling, dude. You're not getting enough of your trolling. TYT should use that $20 million to buy an online video platform. You know, that's interesting enough, not a bad idea. Like, it's like, how much do you believe in the cause? Do you believe in the cause to the degree of saying, I'm going to create a worker co-op platform to rival YouTube? And this platform is going to be based on a fair wage and all this other stuff. Yeah, I mean, how much do you believe in it? How much do you believe in the cause? If YouTube wants to shadow ban, fair enough, you have somewhere else. If this company wants to change their algorithm, fair enough, you have somewhere else. And construct it in a way that, I guess the question is always, how do you construct it in a way that still gets revenue for the people who are watching it, and what is the source of that revenue? That's always the difficult and interesting part. So yeah. It's what it is. Carl G 318 Southern Hospitality. Definitely need a third party. Yes. You guys have multiple parties in Britain. We have like 2. We have Greens, Libertarians, but these guys, we have mainly 2. I'm not going to select these guys. Debbie is live and wearing a Jamal's hat. Oh, really? Nice. That's funny. That's funny. And she must have liked my other video where I trashed Sanders pretty bad. Yeah. I thought she was having to go at me about something. Proud to say I got kicked off Raw Story for trolling them. Tim Floberg. Did you now? Pete D, Raw Story is one of the worst. Good job, Tim. That's funny. Kevin, actually, we have many, but only so get the spotlight. Okay, I missed that one. I didn't understand that one. My trolling is why people say trolling is an art. Yeah, trolling can be an art. And people are giving Tim props for getting kicked off a Raw Story. Alright guys, I'm going to end this because I have another one that I want to come after this, and I didn't necessarily want this one to go too long. So, you guys have a good one. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks guys. Where is it?